Hello there and welcome. I'm Ole Brugger, and if you're new here, I really hope I'll earn your subscription today. This is part 3 of building a fantasy airship. If you missed part 1 and 2, you can catch them up here in the corner. Today we're going to paint the wooden parts of the ship, and then I'm going to lay out some floor planks. We're also going to look at some of the mechanics of the ship. So we better get started. The solution for these doors, I was not satisfied about it, so they will have to go. The new solution is a 2mm cutout door on my laser cutter and the stick from a Q-tip, which is also 2mm. So I'll have to cut 2mm off the side of the door to make this work as a hinge. I will need to do this preparation before I start painting. So I will have to drill a hole all the way through to the door frame. And then I should be able to glue in the door on the Q-tip. But I won't glue in any doors just yet. I'll just do the preparations before I will start painting. The doors won't be installed until part 4. It requires a lot of paint to paint a model this size, and I chose to use some cheap craft paint. But I don't have the right color, and it requires a couple of experiments. So I filled some paint into these syringes so I can keep the measurement of how much paint of each color I will be using. And when I hit the right color, I know exactly how much paint I'm going to use of each color to get the right recipe. It took a couple of attempts, and I also needed to introduce 2 new colors. I used a couple of other craft paints and a couple of Vallejo's air primer. With my own home mixed color, I will start dry brushing and base coat all that will need to look like dark wood. Next step is to make a bit brighter brownish color. I'll basically use the same recipe as I found for the base coat, but this time I will brighten it up with some of the light colors so I will get a good highlight for this brown ship. It almost looks like something that I could use for a skin color, and I don't think this color will work for me. So I started over and thought maybe if I should make the base a gray tone, and then just put a tiny drop of brown into it and see what happens. But there is something with my brown color. It's called a chocolate brown. When I mix colors into it, it doesn't give the result that I'm looking for. This turned out to be some kind of gray with a lavender touch. So I tried again, and this time I mixed in some of the yellow color, and I think this worked as it should. I got the color I wanted, and now I can finally start dry brushing the ship with the highlight tone. Everything is dry brushed, so now I'll just need to give it a good wash. This is my homemade recipe, and it's just water with a tiny drop of dish soap and some brown paint. And then I just need to spread it all over the ship everywhere I have painted with the brown and the highlight. This takes forever to dry, so I just left it overnight to make sure that it would dry, because there is a lot of water in here and it takes a lot of time for it to vaporize. This is late at night, the evening after I have given it a wash, and as you can see here in the top frame, the ship is not dry at all. But I can start putting in some of the coffee stir sticks that will represent the planks of all the floors of the ship. I'll also need some thicker wood, and I found these very cheap 5x5mm wooden dowels, and they will be used as support for the floor planks. They won't be visible, so I will just cut them with a side cutter. Yeah, and I had a glue accident. The dropper of the glue bottle just fell off and I spilled a lot of glue in the bottom of the ship. Again, it doesn't matter, it won't be visible. The coffee stir sticks I'm using to make the floor planks were very cheap. I think I paid about €5/$5 on Amazon, and there's 1,000 pieces in one bag. They are a bit crooked, so I had to select each and every one of them and cut them to size, and they were actually quite a pain to mount. But since I started using these and not the more expensive ones that are more straight, I had to keep on going with these. But proportion-wise, I think these are better. They are a bit thinner, and the proportions compared to a miniature, I think they work fine. I put all these coffee stir sticks in over 4 days, and I have 17 hours of video footage of this whole part 3 of the build, and 8 of those hours were just coffee stir sticks. I primarily used some PVA glue, but I also needed to use some super glue because some of the stir sticks were so bent that they were popping out of their place where I put them in. There is so many hours of this footage. I sped up the video and 8 hours is now 5 minutes. You can skip ahead if you don't want to see me put in a lot of coffee stir sticks, or you can hang around and listen to some music. This is the deck plate for the cargo base, and I will need to put in some cargo doors and the hatches for the crew access. I'll use some PVA glue and attach the cargo bay doors. And the same thing goes for the access doors for the crew. I just needed a couple of wooden dowels on the corners to make it complete. I also cut out a couple of coffee stir sticks as trim along the edge. And to cover up some of the gaps, I actually cut out some more coffee stir sticks and raised the hole here between the two hatches a bit and covered it up. I really think everything's starting to take shape right now, and it looks good. I kinda like this. The handles will be mounted later. I think it will be in part 4. Well, we are not quite done with the coffee stir sticks yet. I just found out there is actually 3 more hours of footage putting in coffee stir sticks. This is the front castle, and it is just the same procedure as I did with the rest of the ship. I also needed to put in some coffee stir sticks on the 2 top plates, but I will get back to that later because there's something I need to do before that. I want all the decks to be removable independent of each other, so you can remove the mid section or the front section or back section. So I can't have anything overlapping, so I have to elevate a portion of the mid deck so it will be the same level as the front castle. I'll just leave an overhang here on this elevated part, and when the glue is dry, I can snap everything off and sand down. Again, I will speed up the video because this is quite boring to see, but I am putting in a ton of more coffee stir sticks. And finally, I put down the last coffee stir stick, and then I just needed to sand everything. Most I did by hand, others I could do by my Dremel tool, and the big parts I could use my sander in my workshop. I'm using another type of coffee stir sticks here on the railing side. And it is because these are 5mm wide and they fit exactly without any cutting on top of my foam. Well, now to something fun, because I didn't intend to build something advanced like this. It doesn't make any sense according to playability. I just thought it would be cool. But originally I just wanted it to have the wings and the tail to be clip-ons. And I just thought, hey, maybe we could make some controls on the top of the ship, like handles to make them move. I just got caught up with that idea. Now I'm just making a proof of concept, testing things out and see if I can make something work. And after a lot of trials and errors and a lot of laser cut parts, I finally came up with a design that I actually think will work. I came up with 3 levers that you can pull or push, and each lever has its own function. Left will turn the left wing up and down. The middle will turn the right wing up and down, and the right will turn the rudder or the tail. I just have to be very careful when I'm lifting up the back castle because it's a very tight place. I also laser cut a couple of frames so I can cover up the 2 holes, one inside the castle and the one on top. But before I glue in the frames, I will actually paint them. I will use this Emperor Gold from the Army Painter's John Blanchy set, and I think this is very cool. It's almost like it's copper. And when it gets a wash, I think it will turn out great. I'll also use the same color for all the mechanics inside the ship. And this paint is very thick, so I will have to use a lot of airbrush medium, so it will almost run like water, because it will give it a thinner coat than if I did it with a brush, and it will not get caught up as well in all the joints and the mechanics, so they will stick together because of the paint. However, the parts I already glued in inside the ship, I will have to use a brush, but that's alright. I just have to be careful that I won't hit too much of the mechanical or moving parts. And now the planks will need some wash. I'm using this quick shade strong tone from the Army Painter. This is actually one of their first products they introduced to the market. And it works. They still sell this stuff. It was originally introduced dip it because you can dip a miniature into this wash and then you have all the shading in place. But I will use it as a stain on all the floor planks, and I think this works great. The grains in the wood really is coming through, and I just love this effect. Well, we got this far. These planks, they just took forever, and I didn't even count how many hours I spent putting in all these coffee stir sticks as planks. And I'm very happy about using the smaller coffee stir sticks compared to the bigger. I think the proportions for the miniatures is a lot better and it looks more natural in size, so it wouldn't be that bulky. This is just a bit better. And I'm very excited about this mechanics. Totally unnecessary, but it was so fun to make. A lot of frustrations, but it was so fun to make. And I'm looking forward to see how it will turn out with the wings and the tail. Next time we're going to put in some more details, some paint, and some more levers for these things. So doors, hatch up here. This is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. And if you already haven't done it, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below, give me a like, dislike, whatever you like. Yeah, whatever you like. Please like. And I'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.